Briefly about my message from yesterday. We kicked off a new series called Base Camp, and it was my privilege to talk to hundreds of spiritual leaders and future spiritual leaders at Greystone Church. You may not see yourself as a spiritual leader, but God has called you to be a spiritual leader, if nothing else, to be a spiritual leader of yourself. And so we're going to spend the summer studying through 2 Timothy. Yesterday we looked at Timothy. He's a young leader. He was insecure. He's lacking in confidence. And so the Apostle Paul, his mentor, his father in the faith, writes him a letter to encourage him. Paul reminds him of his sincere faith, the godly heritage that he comes from his grandmother Eunice and his mother Lois, which are great biblical names. I would encourage you to name your next daughter Eunice or Lois. He reminds him of his godly heritage. He reminds him that he's been gifted, spiritually gifted, supernaturally gifted, and called to do this ministry assignment, which we've all been gifted by God to do a specific ministry. He reminds him that the power of God lives inside of him and that he can do all things through Jesus Christ. And finally, he reminds him to be strong in God's grace, that God's grace is sufficient for us, and if God has called us to do something, then he will empower us to do it. When we are weak, he is strong. And the best place to be as a spiritual leader is to be dependent upon God, trusting in him, not trusting in our own gifts and abilities. One of the things that I didn't mention in my sermon yesterday, one of the challenges to giving a 30-minute message is not necessarily what to say or coming up with 30 minutes worth of material. Usually it's figuring out what not to say and only saying what God leads me to say. And one of the insights that I had from my study this week is just how Paul wrote Timothy a very timely letter. And maybe God wants to use you to write someone else a letter of encouragement. Just some powerful words to let someone know you care about them, you love them, and that you're praying for them. Letters over the years have had tremendous impact in my life. In fact, I keep encouraging, impacting letters, and when I get down and discouraged, I'll pull these letters out and read them. And I had a neat thing happen yesterday. One of our longtime church members came up to me after the service, and he opened up his Bible, and he said, "I want to show you a letter that you wrote me." And I had written him this letter a few years ago, and it was just letting him know I cared for him, I loved him, and was praying for him. And he said it meant the world to him, and he keeps this letter with him in his Bible, and he often looks at it. And I thought, it took me 1 or 2 minutes to write that short note of encouragement to him. And I was thinking, maybe God is leading you to write a letter of encouragement to someone. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do today. Take 5 minutes, pray about it, see who God's Spirit encourages you to write, and just write them a letter of encouragement. Let them know you love them. Let them know that you're praying for them. Thanks for checking out Johnny's blog. We have some good stuff coming up this week. And remember to pray for Sports Camp. We're trusting for hundreds of kids to come to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. Let's keep seeking God and keep making him known. I'll talk to you guys later.